Welcome into Duval Daily, presented by GenJag.com. I'm Jordan Lugo. Thanks so much for tuning in here on Friday, March 1st. Happy March to everyone. Look, day one of the combine, it is in the books. Defensive tackles, edge players, and linebackers were out there on the field. We're going to talk about some of the guys that stood out from a testing perspective, from an on-field perspective, that the Jaguars might be interested in targeting in this upcoming 2024 NFL draft. It's going to be a big draft for the Jaguars, making sure they continue to fortify what they have on this roster, build for the future, and get some guys in here early that can contribute in 2024. If you enjoy the content here, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. You can also check out genjag.com/shop, pick up some new Duval gear. So let's dive into these defensive tackles. They were out there on the field first. We got to realize here, when you're talking about Trent Baalke, the Jaguars general manager, he does not go for short arm guys, generally speaking, especially at defensive tackle, defensive line. They did go get Yasir Abdullah, the edge last year, outside linebacker type, who did not have 33-inch arms. But generally speaking, if you're talking about taking a guy on the first couple days of the draft for Trent Baalke, he's got to have 33-inch arms if he's going to be a defensive end type, edge type defensive tackle, right? So keep that in mind. Like guys like Braden Fisk, who unbelievable performance, a guy that I love out of Florida State, that I've been very high on for a long time. He has very short arms, so I don't know that Trent Baalke is going to be in on that. Byron Murphy looked fantastic out of Texas. Again, short arms, right? So if he goes in either of those directions early in the draft, it would be unprecedented. Byron Murphy would be a candidate at 17 overall, but it doesn't even look like he's going to make it to 17. And then Braden Fisk in the second round could be a target. But again, I would be very surprised if Trent Baalke's in on either of those guys because they just don't present the length that he goes for. But looking at some guys that do represent the length and did stand out, how about Ruka Rororo out of Clemson, a player I've been a fan of for a long time. I thought he could have come out last year and been drafted on day two of the draft. 4.89 40-yard dash at 294 pounds, 1.67 10-yard split, 32-inch vert, and the 10 split is the first 10 yards of the 40-yard dash, which is most important for guys playing defensive tackle, right? They're not generally running 40 yards down the field. You want to see the explosiveness in that 10-yard split, explosiveness in that vertical jump. He also has 34-inch arms, which that certainly passes with flying colors, a 908 broad. So Ruka Rororo had a really good day for himself out of Clemson. Somebody that I think the Jaguars could target on day two of the draft. I have a second round grade on him because I still think there's a lot of upside. Didn't come to football till a little bit later on in his life. So I think there's still a ton of upside with him. Stout against the run, but someone who I think has pass rush upside. And another player who's very stout against the run that I think has a lot of pass rush upside as well that flashes on tape is Chris Jenkins out of Michigan at 299 pounds, ran a 4.91 40-yard dash, a 1.710 split, 30-inch vert, 34-inch arms, 907 broad. So this is a guy who I don't think the testing is out of this world, but when you saw him on the on-field work, looks super smooth. When you see him playing the game at Michigan, tremendous run defender and a guy who, again, does flash as a pass rusher. He does have a spin move. He does have some hand counters, some swims. So I think that Chris Jenkins, son of Chris Jenkins Sr., who played in the NFL for a long time, could potentially be a target, probably second round, I think is where he's going to end up going. He's a really good athlete, really good run defender. Again, budding pass rush skill set there. Dwayne Carter out of Duke. I've talked to y'all about him a lot. 6'2", so not really the height that Trent Baalke's usually going for, but 302 pounds, 4.99 40-yard dash, 1.72 10-yard split, 32-inch vert, 901 broad. This is with 33-inch arms, and again, at 302 pounds. This is a super stout run defender who also can get upfield and penetrate. He has some nice hand usage, swipes, swims to get into the backfield quickly, and a guy who I think showed well from an athletic perspective here as a big defensive tackle that can be stout against the run but also penetrate. So I think that's a guy that's certainly a candidate for the Jaguars on day two of the draft. Mason Smith out of LSU. He was a 5-star recruit, had a big knee injury in 2022, missed the entire season, came back in 2023 and played. Wasn't quite what you would expect from an athletic perspective on tape, but this is the type of guy that when you look back through Trent Baalke's draft history, he's kind of tried to take advantage of some players who maybe have fallen down draft boards a little bit due to injuries. I think Mason Smith, that could be the case with him, but he tested very well. 35-inch arms. I mean, Trent Baalke's going to love that. 6'5", 301 pounds, had a 31-inch vert, a 501 40-yard dash. Those are really good numbers for someone that big. And I think that, again, 35-inch arms, that screams Trent Baalke, right? Jaden Crumedy out of Mississippi State. He was really fast in the 40, good in the 20-yard shuttle, over 300 pounds, 33-inch arms, 30-inch vert. He could be Baalke built as well. I thought he moved around pretty nicely out there at defensive tackle. Looking at the edge players, some guys were absolutely unbelievable out there. But again, a guy like Mo Kamara, who is one of my guys in this 2024 NFL draft cycle, might not be Baalke built, doesn't have 33-inch arms, isn't the biggest dude out there, but he ran a blazing 40-yard dash. But we're going to look at some guys who I think are Baalke built here, beyond another player like Chop Robinson, Leatu Latu, two guys that I thought showed out today or yesterday. Love those guys. Don't think that they're going to be Trent Baalke draft picks because they're both going to be early picks. I don't think he is going to waver from his thresholds with arm length with those two guys early on. But if the Jaguars do want to go edge early on, which I know that might not be the biggest need, but it does make sense to me because if you have three big-time edge rushers, Josh Allen, Trayvon Walker, and a big-time draft pick, you could really be starting to cook with gas in terms of heating up the quarterback, the opposing quarterback in 2024, which the Jaguars need to be able to do. But looking at Dallas Turner, my God, just under 6'3", big hands, 34 3/8-inch arms, 247 pounds, 1.54 10-yard split, 4.46 40-yard dash, 40.5-inch vert. That is insane. 10.7 broad. I really think that he's going to be the first edge off the board because when you look at the tape, you see the budding pass rush skill set. You see the heavy hands. You see the length, the bend, the athleticism. He's super versatile. I think he could play defensive end in a 4-3 system. I think he can be wide 9. I think he can be a 3-4 outside linebacker. I think he can drop into coverage and be very smooth there. So I just think Dallas Turner, while he's not the most complete edge in terms of the pass rush technique, the hand usage, all that stuff right now, I think that there's no question he has the most potential to be a versatile game-wrecking edge that can play all three downs at an extremely high level. Just unbelievable testing, and you see the athleticism and the physicality show up on tape quite often, but he's still just trying to put it all together at this point. But again, you get him in an NFL edge room with NFL coaching. I think that's the type of guy that some team is going to bet on really, really early in the 2024 NFL draft. Chris Braswell, his teammate, 6'3", 251 pounds, 33 1/4 arms, a little bit longer than what he measured at the Senior Bowl, so that's interesting. But he ran a 4.6 40-yard dash, 1.59 10 split, 33.5-inch vert. Very nice numbers for him. I think if the Jaguars were interested in targeting him, maybe he would fall to their second pick. I don't think that he would be a target at 17 overall, but definitely early second round, mid-second round, I think Chris Braswell will come off the board. Now, I'm not a huge fan of Miles Cole, the tape that he put out at Texas Tech, but this dude has like 37-inch arms at 6'6", 278 pounds, 10-inch hands, 4.6 740 at 278 pounds, 1.65 10-yard split, 35-inch vert. If he's available on day 3, that just screams Trent Baalke, right? Betting on those traits, I would not be surprised one bit. Another guy, Adisa Isaac, didn't have the greatest day in the world in terms of athletic testing. He did jump well, and the vert, I think he had a 35-inch vert. I'll verify that here. 34.5-inch vert for Adisa Isaac, so that shows explosiveness. 4.7 40-yard dash, which isn't terrible, but he came in at 247 pounds. He does have 34-inch arms. He's a guy that I think the Jaguars would like a lot, but just didn't really blow the roof off in terms of his testing today. It was good testing, not bad at all, just maybe not quite what you expected to see from Adisa Isaac after seeing what he put on tape at Penn State this year and then what he did at the Senior Bowl. And then Darius Robinson, another Senior Bowl standout. He didn't run all that fast, but that is a big, big boy. 6'5", 285 pounds, 34.5-inch arms. He had a 4.95 40-yard dash, so that's not super impressive, but the explosiveness that he shows on tape that he showed at the Senior Bowl, it showed up in the vert, 35-inch vert at 285 pounds. That is really impressive. I mean, Darius Robinson, he is a freak show, even though he didn't run the fastest 40-yard dash. He is an impressive athlete. I think he is still going to be a first-round pick, and I would not be surprised if the Jaguars are interested at 17 overall, because that's a guy you can move around the formation. He can play excellent run defense on the edge. He can pass rush from the edge, but you can also kick him inside, I think, and hold up against the run there too. So a guy that has versatility, a guy that has length, power, explosiveness with that 35-inch vert. So definitely someone that I'd be keeping an eye on. I think Trent Baalke might be a big fan of Darius Robinson. Go back to the well at Mizzou, drafted Aldon Smith over a decade ago, had very good results early on with that. I would not be surprised if he's in on Darius Robinson. If Jared Verse is there at 17, I would not be surprised if the Jaguars go in that direction one bit again. Edge is not the biggest need because you do have two starters, but you need more than two, right? You need three guys that can really impact the quarterback, and really you need more than three, but you need at least three guys that can really impact the quarterback. So if Jared Verse is there at 17, I wouldn't be surprised one bit. He is 6'4", weighed in at 254 pounds. I think he plays bigger than that. 33.5-inch arms, so passes that threshold. 4.58 40-yard dash, 1.610 split. He was flying. 35-inch vert. He is a super explosive athlete. He is not the bendiest. He is not the most fluid edge rusher out there. He's not going to look like Chop Robinson, bending around the top of the arc. But if Jared Verse is there at 17 with the speed to power that he brings, the alignment versatility as a pass rusher, the run defense that he already has, I think that he could definitely be someone the Jaguars are interested in, and I'd be happy to have him here in Duval. He is a fun football player. You get him rushing out there with Trayvon Walker and Josh Allen and a fully healthy Devon Hamilton and maybe another interior guy that you pick up at some point along the way here in this 2024 offseason, whether that's in free agency or the draft. I think you could be really cooking there. Now, the linebackers took the field as well. I really don't want to talk about the linebackers at all, but it wouldn't really be a Trent Baalke draft without nabbing a linebacker at some point. I would have to think it would be day 3 with how much they've already invested over the last several years. Foye Oluokun, big-time contract. Devin Lloyd, first-round pick, traded up for him. Chad Muma, third-round pick. Ventrell Miller, fourth-round pick. But again, he does love to go get linebackers. So some guys I think that tested well that, wouldn't surprise me if they're there on day 3, that he could go and get Cedric Gray, Trevin Wallace, Maris Leofau. I did mock Tyron Hopper. He didn't run out there at the combine. I'm not sure why. I haven't checked that out yet, but Tyron Hopper on tape is a guy out of Mizzou that I think makes sense. Cedric Gray is from North Carolina. He has the length, the speed, the athleticism that I think Trent Baalke would be looking for. Trevin Wallace out of Kentucky, similar situation. Maris Leofau, Notre Dame, again, big-time athlete with long arms. Obviously, Peyton Wilson. He stole the show here out of NC State. He's a guy that I think has first-round talent, but also has a long medical history, so we'll see where he ends up going. But a 4.4 40-yard dash for Peyton Wilson. I think he's a fantastic talent. Edgerrin Cooper, he'll be off the board early as well, but he does have the bulky length. He is a supreme athlete out there. I cannot imagine Trent Baalke drafting another linebacker on day 2 of the draft, but if Edgerrin Cooper was there at the Jaguars' second-round pick, Baalke would be tempted. I really do think he would be tempted, but there's no way he can do that in my opinion. We'll see how it all plays out. But yeah, that's it for the defensive tackles, the edge, and linebacker group. Excited to see how it all goes down later today for the rest of the combine. It's going to be a good time. Really appreciate y'all tuning in. If you enjoy the content, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. You can also check out genjag.com/shop, pick up some new Duval gear. Y'all have a good weekend.